Welcome to In the Envelope, a podcast from Backstage, the #1 resource for actors and talent seekers. I am your host, Jack Smart, awards editor at Backstage, and I'm here to guide you through every aspect of the entertainment industry with the help of some of your favorite stars. These intimate, inspirational conversations with today's most award-worthy film, television, and theater artists provide you, dear listener, advice on how to live the creative life, personal stories of success and failure alike, and maybe, just maybe, a tantalizing glimpse in the envelope.
There's something about having friends involved that you believe in so hard that takes the pressure off yourself, so you don't have to think so much of like, what will they think about me? What about this or that? I'm like, well, I believe in them, so that makes me believe in the show.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of In the Envelope, live from this particular closet. I am so thrilled to welcome Maya Erskine and Anna Konkle on the podcast today, the creators and stars of Hulu's hit comedy Pen 15, both Emmy-nominated as writers on the show and playing middle school versions of themselves circa the year 2000. It is a very cringe-worthy, awkward type of comedy, and I am often watching it through my fingers because it's so awkward, but it also produces some of the biggest belly laughs of any series out there, and especially in season 2 has gotten very nuanced and even dark and deep. And it's so, of course, interesting just from a Backstage perspective, or just from any TV watching perspective, to speak to writer-creators who are inhabiting former younger versions of themselves, mining their childhood to create material, but also physically transforming into these super, super awkward 13-year-old versions of themselves. The conceit of this show, for those who haven't seen it, is that the rest of the supporting cast is actual 13-year-olds. So early 30-something Anna and Maya, decked out in, let's say, unflattering wigs and looks, and are surrounded by truly a stellar group of supporting actors who are all actual middle schoolers and who feel so real and so natural. For anyone who has ever been in middle school, but maybe particularly those like me who were in middle school in this particular era, it is a very painful, very accurate, and very wonderful show. So we will get to the two of them in just a sec. Pen 15 was also co-created by Sam Zvibleman, who directs most of the episodes. I'm so excited to see what happens in the second half of season 2 of Pen 15. But also, I just want to say the other point on my agenda for today is that it has been 4 years since In the Envelope began. This podcast is now 4 years old, getting past toddler phase. We've now aired over 150 episodes, and I'm super proud of the work we've put in and these interviews that we've done. We've come a long way since that first episode featuring Claire Danes, who marched over from her West Village apartment to record with us despite the fact that we didn't have a proof of concept for her. And here we are, almost 200 interviews later with Maya and Anna. 4 years. Yeah, it's amazing. Shout out to Jamie for producing and editing every single episode and co-parenting this podcast with me. Shout out to Casey, who you all know, the fairy godmother of this podcast, and of course the team at Backstage for putting it together week after week after week. So exciting to be here in June as the Emmy nominating period comes up and Emmy nominations come up next month. And I look forward to bringing you all more insightful interviews with some of the most exciting talents in Hollywood today. Anyway, happy birthday to us. So let's take a quick break and get to today's interview. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Applications are now available for UCLA's Professional Program in Acting for the Camera. Gain knowledge from successful industry professionals and receive a world-class acting education in 3 quarters consisting of scene study, acting for the camera, and career development workshops, an intimate classroom environment with a maximum of 16 students per workshop, and a certificate of completion from the UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. Students are encouraged to apply early, space is limited, admission is competitive. Just Google UCLA professional programs and you'll find us. Maya Erskine and Anna Konkle met at New York University and created a web series together before going on to write, produce, edit, and star as middle school-aged versions of themselves on Hulu's Emmy-nominated comedy Pen 15. Maya also stars in Betas, Casual, and the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi, while Anna has appeared in Rosewood, Baskets, and Together Together. Here are the hilarious Maya Erskine and Anna Konkle. Hello, you guys.
Hi.
How are you both doing? I know, congratulations on becoming new mothers.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's wild.
Wild.
Yeah, I'm so impressed. Thank you so much for doing press, really. I mean, this is great.
Oh,
Thank you.
please. Thanks for having us.
You're sitting at home, I guess. I guess we're doing these Zoom meetings that we're all used to by now, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Love them.
Love.
Love.
Not tired of them at all.
No.
No.
Not ready for in-person at all.
Right, exactly.
Other than having babies, like, what has the last year been like? What is the deal with Pen 15? Has there been filming? No.
No. It was basically, it started off with just editing. So we had stopped and we had like 8 days left of shooting, I would say. And so we just began editing the first half of season 2, part 1.
Right.
So we were in a hole of editing, I would say. Well, for about 2 weeks, Anna and I got to experience a pause and have a little bit of, I call it domestic bliss. We had been a bit burnt out from working, so long. And
Sure.
Though it was terrifying and awful for so many people, it was nice to have a pause from the sort of fast pace that was just, I think looking back now, I'm like, wow, that was not sustainable or healthy. And I think we all learned to sort of slow down a bit. And so that was really, really lucky and privileged to be able to do that. And then we went into editing and then both got pregnant. So we were like, oh, we can't shoot until we have our babies
Ever again.
to finish it out or ever again.
I'm like, how will we ever work again? Like, I haven't figured it out.
No.
Yeah.
Because on other shows, actresses have, covered pregnancies. But I feel like on a show where you're
Right.
both playing 13-year-old versions of yourselves, and you've even talked about the contraptions that go into creating your 13-year-old bodies.
Well, sorry, I'm just talking over you, but this is our first time having breasts. I can say Anna and I have the same size, and I would say
True.
This is my first time having, so I don't know how how it's going to work when we have to strap it down, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm scared. Like, I
Me too.
thought I had breasts before, and I was wrong. But yeah, we wear these kind of corset things.
Yeah.
And actually, we just had, I don't know if you saw that email yet, Maya, but I just saw that we're setting up a meeting with our costumer to see if she needs to, retailor basically all so the scenes that we have left are we block shot everything. So we have several scenes, in the middle of several different episodes. So our costumes are done so we have to match everything, which is overwhelming as someone who gained 45 pounds during pregnancy,
Sure.
to get back to 13. So, but yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. The thing that I'm the most curious about is like lactating, and
I was just going to say.
Yeah,
like
it's
when we
weird.
think of our babies, I didn't know about that. When I think of my baby, when I hear him cry, when I hear another baby cry, it just is like a shower that spurts out. Sorry, it's very graphic, but that
It's
is
awesome.
lactating when you're, I don't know what that means for the pressure on your, anyway, we haven't talked about motherhood.
I don't know.
So this
we really haven't. Yeah, this is new.
It feels on point to talk about lactating given this show and the visceral elements of this show.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yeah.
You've both spoken to Backstage before. Before I go any further, you both have a relationship with Backstage. Did you use it back in the day?
Definitely.
Yeah.
What
100%.
for?
Yeah.
Dare we go back to the earliest memories of your career?
What submissions, right? Like I would use it to submit for auditions and never got a single one from it. But not I just don't think, I did it right or I wasn't right for the parts.
Sure.
Yeah, it worked for other people, but same. I was on either Backstage or Actors Access.
Yes.
Yeah.
And let's say this actor didn't have access. No, I'm just kidding. So corny. It was a lot of time spent on those sites with very little reward.
Yeah.
But I did go, I remember Backstage having the information on open calls
Yes.
for Broadway.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And that always felt like an equalizer because Actors Access was mostly, non-union, non-union jobs.
Right.
And Backstage had the opportunities of actually a big, production, and I would wait all day. I would go. I remember always walking past this McDonald's in New York City and waiting all day and having to use the McDonald's bathroom as I was waiting and being like, this is my life. And then, most of the time not get seen.
Would you get seen?
I got seen once and it didn't go great. But at least
I don't think I was ever
seen.
seen but at least you got seen. Yeah, I tried it a couple times and I didn't get in. I just sat there. I think I left early probably because I was like, it ain't happening.
And you really have to vibe yourself up to even do it because it's scary.
Yeah.
And you're usually there all day.
But Backstage sort of represented, sorry, we're just talking so much.
Yeah.
But it was like the mecca of theater, it was the magazine that you looked at for interviews and all of those things. And it feels very nice that we get to even be talking to you for Backstage.
Well, yeah. And of course, the advice is then create your own work, right? Big picture, you guys, early career, lots of auditions, lots of rejection, as you're saying. And eventually it did become writing. At what point did it more become writing? And I know you've both given so many joint interviews before, but how did you meet? How did the collaboration begin in the early days of that?
Yeah, we met at school. We both went to college in New York City, and I think it was our junior year of college. And technically, actually, we were in Amsterdam because it was a summer program and it was experimental theater.
Cool.
And I immediately wanted to be Maya's friend, and then was also she's the most talented person I've ever seen.
And I felt that way.
Yes,
I did, and I hate that you always doubt
I had
it.
a long
it's
ways
just
to
insane. Go. You're crazy. You're absolutely crazy.
You're crazy. And so, and then that summer, the end of the summer, we got back from Amsterdam, and it had been this 20-person program, really intensive, with actually a lot of people now, weirdly, that are in comedy, because it was not a comedically focused thing. It was super dramatic, and, we're doing Shakespeare and clowning and playing, weird animals on the ground, and it's so weird.
Cool. Yeah.
And then... Yeah. And then we became really, really close when we got back, and we always talked about making something together. And a couple years after being out of college, we finally, I think both were in a similar place mentally and put making something together as the priority to everything else really in our work. And that's when I think, Maya, correct me wherever I'm wrong here, but really discovered that writing, producing, playing characters. We made a freaky web series, that all of that was, really something that we loved and wanted to keep doing.
Yeah. And I would say that I remember while we were doing it, I think I was seeing a therapist at the time, but I had mentioned to her, I was like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And this was just our web series. Like, but I still was looking at it as like the hardest thing. But I said,
yeah, it was hard.
But the first time I felt real confidence in a way, because I was actually, I had for so long, I mean, the insecurity never goes away. Like I still feel that, but it was the first time that I felt empowered because we were putting it into our own hands and actually taking risks together to try to create something that even if we were going to fail, we were doing it for what we liked. We were like, what makes us laugh? What do we love? What is fun for us to do? And that gave me sort of my first taste of like, oh, confidence or enjoyment or, you know, kind of, it was, wildly rewarding.
So cool.
And there was so much too that I liked about studying theater and growing up doing community theater and stuff like that, and just being like, okay, I'm an actress and this is what I want and this is what I'm going to do and whatever. And then, but I also liked so many different things in acting, and I had auditioned for so many different kinds of things. And it took, I mean, it sounds so corny, but I think this speaks to our like creative ESP, that it took meeting Maya to be like pretty much a muse, and you've continued to be that for me, of being like, oh, I have to get up and write today for her, you know?
Yeah.
And just being like creatively driven to be like, oh, this is actually something really exciting. I want to hear her do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Cool.
Or I always think of the motivation to write a lot of times is like, will Anna like this? Will Anna laugh at this? Because that's how I sort of trust like, that's what I trust, kind of. It's like, oh, if she's dying on the floor, peeing her pants, I don't care what anyone else says, that's going in. Like, that's sort of, you know.
Which definitely happens where we do something and we think it's hysterical, and then you watch it in a screening room and everyone's like, not laughing.
Dead silent. No one else. Everyone on set is like, please stop. We're ready to go home.
True.
But that's like the trial and error of taking the work into your own hands and creating your own material. That's what that enables you to do, right? Like hone what you think is funny in relationship with what audiences think is funny. Is it safe to say the goal is like to get as close as possible to get the two things aligned? The stuff that you find funny, you want them to find funny.
I mean, that would be a wonderful way. Yeah, I think for us, it's always been, if it was by myself, I think I would, you know, be thinking about that. But because I do have Anna and Sam and just a whole ensemble of people and crew, and it's sort of like whatever is working for us or what makes Anna laugh or it's kind of, I've learned to let go of what the audience will like because I have no control over it. And it's sort of hard to expect because they may like one thing and then the next, you know, there's no telling. And it's sort of, okay, if we just stick to being as honest as possible and not go for the laugh or not go for, you know, but I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And how does it work? The hats, I call it the hats of like, you guys are multi-hyphenates. This becomes such a cliche term, but like, is the writing hat completely different from the producing hat? And then I'm guessing on set when you're filming, that's another mode entirely because you're also obviously getting into character and doing it on screen.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, that whole thing. And I think, you know, it's not like we came into it being super experienced with boundaries even of like, okay, now I'm doing this and now I'm doing this, you know, It's been a lot of, you know, insisting that we show run to Hulu, who thankfully were supportive of that, and then figuring it out after, you know. So I think where I'm at with that is the writing, producing, because we're a lower budget show, tend to go hand in hand, where the conversations, the production conversations just end up happening in the writer's room as we're doing something, writing something, creating something, because we know that we're limited by this set or, you know, this, the kids have certain work hours that they can do and we can have them working at the same time. So, and we have a pretty limited writing schedule. So it all ends up being of the same. And I think, you know, and acting wise, same thing, like the lines are very blurred in that you know, if we're not cracking a scene writing, Maya and I are there, you know, talking it out loud and being our characters and trying to, you know, figure out that scene. So it's pretty blurred, I'd say.
Sure. And you also mentioned editing.
Yes, we are definitely, we edit.
That's wild.
16 hours a day. Yeah. So that's where, you know, I don't know if that's fully normal.
Healthy.
Like, I think that, or healthy. I think we, you know.
Too many hats.
It's, but, you know, and so first season was a lot of learning, especially with 3 creators and one of them also being a director. You know, it's like a constant conversation, and these conversations would last hours. And so we learned how to make decisions together. And there's so many decisions, but voting best 2 out of 3. That tends
and
to
you
be.
You got that advice also from a creator of many, right? That
Rob McElhaney from It's Always Sunny. I talked to him and I said, how, because we were in the middle of editing our first season, and I remember we were having some disagreement about, you know, the music or I don't know what. And
who knows anything?
Who knows? And I said, how did you guys do this? Because I know you're all best friends, and you know, you're like a family, and you've been editing and making the show all together for so long. And he said, do you respect and love your friends? I was like, yeah. And he was like, you like their opinions? I was like, definitely. And he was like, you've all lived, you know, differently. You're all going to have different perspectives. So if 2 out of 3 of you think very passionately about something and you really don't see it that way, you kind of got to give it up to be like, but they both see it that way. So I got to just let it go. And then comes in the sort of, what's your passion level? So you just can't throw that around, though, of being like, I'm a passion 10, though, which you can easily do if you're voted out. But it really...
Maya, do you mean if someone got outvoted and there's 2 people that want a certain thing, the one person that got outvoted could be like, wait, I'm passion 10. Please don't vote me out. Let me say one more thing that might change your mind and change the vote,
You get
right?
one try. Yeah, you get one try, and you all have to really listen to each other, because it's so easy to lose sight of that sometimes, because you get like zeroed in on, oh, no, it must be blue. It has to be blue. And I, you know, for whatever reason.
Right.
But yeah, so we edit too.
Amazing.
That was really helpful, that advice.
It was so helpful.
Yeah.
Is it really a scale from 1 to 10, the passion? I love that idea.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like, you know what, I'm a level 3 on this, like, take it, I'm okay. Like this, you know, they're really, it does help. And sometimes if you're both at a level 10, then you discuss it, and it's that important to you both. So you really want, you know, and and I think that's, you know, what makes this show so gratifying to work on in a way. And, you know, is having 2 other people that I respect so much and that are my best friends, and that it's like 3 unique minds coming together to form something that on our own none of us could make. You know, there's just something really.
Without one, it's not truly Pen 15, like what it is and what it's come to be. It's and that's, you know, you learn that too, I think, over time, because you see something, you know, screen or what, like make the final cut that you were unsure about. And it just is validating over and over that it's like, oh, that thing that I was so positive about, it either I was wrong or it still works.
Right.
And why do I get, you know what I mean? And then you kind of learn even more, like, to trust, love, respect, like all that. And
It'll all work out. Yeah. And no egos. Like Rob's advice is, the point is to be respectful and not like, you're not holding grudges or taking it with you at the end of the day. That's the nature of like a good collaborative, creative environment, right?
Right. And also like trusting the process of like, it's the choice is not going to like make or break the episode. And I think sometimes when you're editing, you can be like, wait, if this scene doesn't have this moment, it will break it. You know, it's so easy. And editing, it can be edited so many different ways. That's what's so fun about the post process, is that it can really change how something goes. And you know, but there's, I don't know. It's been a good lesson for us, I feel like, this year, to just like really trust the process.
The storytelling
Listen, I
process.
have mommy brain. This is where I start to blank out. And
I'm not hearing mommy at all. I'm just hearing
I'm
Maya.
super mommy. I'm just thinking
mommy. I'm going to start calling you mommy.
Well, that sort of leads to the next, because the other question I had about writing was like, how do you think about tone? And also rhythm, which rhythm seems like so much a part of the post-production, the editing process, right? And like, how often are you guys having conversations about it's too many jokes, we need a little bit more drama or sweetness. It's too rapid fire, we need it to slow down. Like, are you constantly thinking about balance?
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one. I'd say that every season so far has kind of taken its own sensibility on. I think that this last season, season 2, there was discussion about like, is this still the show? Is it too serious? You know, but we kind of decided that we would let it be what it would be, you know? And I think that there was something going on of wanting to continue to challenge ourselves because we're 34 playing 13-year-olds, and how do we stay stimulated and excited about every season or whatever? But there were certainly, you know, times that I got worried that it was just not the same show, you know? But again, like, just tried to accept it's going to be what it's going to be. And if it changes and evolves, like, that's what's supposed to happen. And I think rhythmically, you know, the only rhythm that I'm, definitely in post, there's a rhythm in terms of cutting, and especially when the scene is out, or I guess we are really involved in that. I was just thinking, like, I don't care that much, but no, we get really psychotic about like what seconds.
About where it cuts out. Yeah, like sometimes it's like after the breath, after Anne exhales.
Right.
I think she doesn't need to exhale at the end. I think we can cut it off there. Like,
Wow.
It's that intricate.
That's cool.
But when we're acting it, I feel like you and I, Maya, have a natural rhythm.
Yes.
But at the same time, because I feel like I know your mind, but when it comes to like sitcom rhythm or, you know, whatever, that I really, and I think you too, and even jokes within Pen 15, written jokes are not that common in our show. It's more situational or character based. So when those like actual written jokes come out, I feel like we're half the time fighting against that rhythmically to just like ground it and take the joke out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think we've always, just in general, like I know Anna and I, when we've acted in things before, if there were jokes, which some people can do wonderfully, and I think Anna can do wonderfully, the instinct is always like, oh, I don't know how to... This feels like a joke as opposed to me saying it as this character really honestly, unless I was a character that like makes jokes all the time. But, but when it feels like it's like written, how do you know? So it's exactly what Anna was saying. It's just like fighting against that of like, these are 13-year-olds. They don't know how to, I don't think, make like, you know, witty jokes, I think, or they could, but you know, it's more, what's funny is that they're, you know, rejects trying to be funny or trying to fit in or trying whatever it is, but failing, you know.
They're kind of not in on the joke, I suppose.
Yes. Yes.
That's so interesting, Anna, what you said, the idea of, is this still the show? This almost like branding of the show. It sort of goes back to Maya, what you were saying about like, you're not trying to guess what the audience wants or guess their expectations and try to match it, right? It always goes back to that thing of like truthfulness. You guys are trying to find the most honest way to tell this story, right?
Yeah. And I think also, you know, having a limited amount of time to write, there's also the element of like finding the arc ahead of time and just moving forward and hoping that it's going to be, that's enough and that our hard work is going to be enough. And because then this next season that's coming out evolves into something else tonally, I think. And that's, to me, like, I'm really excited about that tone, but it also is intimidating because, you know, to be totally honest, it's like we've gotten a lot of critical, you know, support from the seriousness of this last season. So it changing again is like, I think, you know, if I was going to think real deeply into it, would be Anna and Maya are forever 13. We're forever in limbo. but we wanted them to grow, and we wanted them to go through different phases. And so every season, I think you're getting a new phase in a way that they're in.
Yeah. I do almost think that the next season, I mean, I haven't watched the first cuts of them, but will be sillier in a way, lighter, but yet darker, more adult themes too at the same time. Like they could, because like you're saying, they do grow up a bit. So there is fun in that. But I wonder how, that's it's always scary. It's always scary to put out the season. We felt terrified to put out this season, just like Anna was saying. We were like, is this going to be liked? I don't know.
And will we like it? I think we're in a lot of ways, and what I keep learning, we'll see if this continues to be true, but we're our harshest critics. We're really hard on every aspect of the show, which is why we work so hard, which is why we have 15-hour days every day.
Think you can write 2 feature screenplays or a TV spec and 2 original TV pilots in less than 9 months? If you are accepted into the UCLA professional program in screenwriting or writing for television, you will. Both programs begin this fall. Learn from renowned UCLA instructors and you'll receive a world-class education in less than a year, an intimate environment with a maximum of 10 students per instructor, guidance from writing your script through navigating the industry, and a certificate of completion from the UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. Just Google UCLA Professional Programs. You'll find us. It sounds like the self-doubt, and this is something we've heard on the podcast all the time, it doesn't stop. After your early career auditioning days, it continues, it just morphs into different things. Like you said, the critical acclaim comes in, and then it's a different kind of like, are we now going to fall flat on our faces? So what do you do to combat that? What do you do to quiet those voices in your head, if that's how you think of it?
Such a good question.
It also sort of comes to a self-care question.
Yeah. I mean, Anna and I are always talking about this because on set, it's so easy for me to complain and go to Anna after every scene like, I was horrible, that was horrible, and it's just such a waste of energy and we don't have time for that. So there's that side of me, but then there's also what I said was like, because of Sam and Anna, I, for the first time, felt like I could fight for something that I was involved in. Normally, I want to be like, please look away. I'm not worthy, whatever. But because Pen 15 wasn't just me, it was Anna and Sam. And it was like I was saying, oh, Anna and Sam, here, look at this. I'm pushing this forward. So I could be kind of, at least when we were pitching it or sort of putting it out there, I felt safe in that sense. But I don't know, there's something about having friends involved that you believe in so hard that takes the pressure off yourself. So you don't have to think so much of like, what will they think about me? What about this or that? I'm like, well, I believe in them. So, that makes me believe in the show.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah.
Because doing it on your own would be so much harder to talk yourself out of the doubt.
Oh, yeah.
And to motivate yourself, like you've both been saying, like it's the holding each other accountable is also part of it. And just having structure and deadlines, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think too, the show and working together and has been a continued and the show itself came out of this actually as well. But to continue to have this mindset is almost impossible. But like a willingness to fail that, looking at the deeper feeling that what you do elicits and aiming for that feeling and trying to let go of, as much as possible of the approval aspect, especially as actors, we're just all of us as humans, but especially actors, you're just trained to wait for the applause and to wait for the approval. And it's really hard for me to get out of that mentality. And that's my go-to. So Pen 15 in a lot of ways was a direct response to that of going, people aren't going to like this. Nobody's going to like this, but we like it. So let's do it.
Right.
And we continuing that mentality. And I think Maya is a really good example of this, and I'm trying to too. And so is Sam. of like continuing to put ourselves in situations, whether it's Pen 15 or a different work experience that we could potentially fail at. Instead of just continuing doing what, okay, we got, acclaimed for this or whatever. So I'm going to keep doing that. Like, that's not the soul of Pen 15. And that's not how I work well, I found also selfishly.
Anna, you taught me the biggest lesson, which I still have to remind myself every time. If I'm doing an audition, I just remember for so long, just like you were saying, I would always audition thinking about what they possibly want from this character. Like, I would just try to imagine this is what they're looking for and attempt that. And it always sort of led me down the wrong path. And I remember Anna, it was like a revelation, but she was like, I'm just doing it how I would want to play this if it actually filmed. Like, think about that, when we do Pen 15, we're doing it how we want to do it. So imagine if you got this job, is that how you would want to play it, or play it how you would enjoy playing that character? And that sort of just like blew my mind, and it kind of shifted everything for me. I still have to teach myself that every time, but
Totally.
I don't even remember saying that, but I need to write that down for myself.
Yeah, it's so, no, you did. You said it so much, and I was like, oh, wow, that is, talk about like empowering yourself to sort of, and then if you don't get the job, it's like, great, then that's how I would have wanted to play it, and it's not meant to go my way, and that's great.
That's spot on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's so nice. Yeah. It also just made me think, Maya, that recently I was doing, we've been so busy with Pen 15. I haven't, and it's not like the offers are flying in, but I haven't done, much of, not many other things since we've been doing Pen 15. And I just recently did a little something and on someone else's set. And I kept after, I haven't told you this yet, but I kept after every take that when people were great in their take, I'd be like, that was amazing. That's so good. Da, da, da. And then go back to my set, and then we would do it again. And every time. Yeah. And someone was like, it's so like, I forget what they said, but there was a comment that after I kept saying things after every
like you were the director.
And I was like, and they were being totally nice about it, but I got in my head and I was like, oh my God, this person is so experienced and amazing. And I'm this less experienced person being like, that was amazing. You have my approval.
No.
Do you know what I mean? But it came from it didn't come from that. It came from us being on set together, because that's what I'm used to. And like validating each other continually, because we came from such a place of, is this okay? Especially playing 13-year-olds. That's you feel like such a fraud, And so just needing that approval, me personally, from Maya.
Me too.
And we've worked on needing it less as time's gone on. But I just realized on set recently that like, oh my God, this is a weird habit that I have now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I'm so sorry, because that's from me being like, how was I? That was awful.
No, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. I hope that person knows that they're incredible and that I just like, I say it when I see it. It's
I would love
so
if an
weird.
actor said that every time. That's such a nice, I think that's lovely.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing bad about that.
Well, okay. Thank you.
I mean, I think it's great advice. Like that's actually such a great transition, because of course I have to ask you about the acting, that turning into these characters. I think it's so spot on what you're both saying about, as artists, of course, the whole point is putting yourself out there, risking failure, but especially as actors on screen. Mm-hmm. I would dare say, especially as female actors on screen. Mm-hmm. I feel like you guys are to the nth degree with that, because you are, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you are transforming yourselves into younger versions of yourself that are less than flattering in terms of physicality. Could we talk about the physical transformation? How did you put these characters together? And then at what point does it become like, aha, I've slipped into my 13-year-old character selves' shoes?
Yeah. Such a good question.
Yeah. I mean, the external, I know Anna and I both connect on this, but we've always talked about how like the external stuff really helps inform internal for us. So like if, hair, posture, physicality instantly sort of makes you feel a certain way, because, Anna's putting her hand over her stomach and hunching her shoulders because she's hiding her nipples that are forming, you know, it instantly makes her probably feel a certain way. And same with me. And I think there was something, now that we're in season 2, Anna always calls it her little buddy, but every time like the wig comes on, I instantly feel different. Like it's just, it's not, it feels like I am slipping into her and I have permission to be free and wild and sort of unapologetic and kind of just, I can be my 13-year-old self. I can be whiny. I can be bratty. I can be bombastic. I can be really shy and upset. And there's sort of no apologizing. Yeah. And that I think is so freeing for us, really, because it's our show. So we get to sort of, you know, run around wild. But Anna and I tend to, you know, in terms of when you say like unappealing, like we don't want to be appealing. I think when I've had to look, like if I'm cast as someone where I have to look, you know, quote unquote pretty or, you know, I feel like I can't move or something. Like if I move a hair out of place, I will ruin whatever this character is supposed to be. And so there's something about being totally free. Like it just was incredibly liberating to play these characters because we didn't have to really worry about how we looked, except for as your 13-year-old self, like trying to look pretty when you know, look like Maya does. But, you know, yeah, I don't know.
No, it just sent me like thinking about so many different things, just the expectation of, as a woman, what you're supposed to look like on screen and the amount of makeup you wear compared to the guys that are in the trailer getting, you know, ready, and how different we're supposed to look, and what a jail that creatively creates, you know? Okay. And I think it is so normal that it's hard to even spot in a way, like that it's kind of messed up. And I think that doing Pen 15 with Maya was, it was just so freeing to, you know, ironically we're playing 13, but not to hide the wrinkles, because that you know, wearing makeup felt older than it did not wear makeup and be 13. And, you know, wearing makeup felt, you know, you don't want to be too perfect or too whatever, because that's not true to these characters. A lot of the hair and makeup was exactly what we would do, you know, as a 13-year-old, and going back to that memory. But I think, it's just until you reach a certain point in your career, and I would say just like a handful of just these incredible actresses that get amazing opportunities to not have to be like, and they're gorgeous, you know, and get to just genuinely inhabit these characters. It's far and few between. So I'm so grateful that we, you know, got the opportunity to just be characters with zero sex appeal. Zero, capital zero of a number. Like, you know, it took really till you just said that, Maya, just understanding how it just makes me feel shitty, and it's a reason to not want to leave Pen 15, to not want to ever end
totally.
Oh, sure.
It's just sad, and we get to make these decisions ourselves, right? So on other people's stuff, you don't.
Anna, how delusional were we, though? Because we're talking about this now, but definitely on set many times, I'd go to Anna and she'd come to me and we'd be like, wait, but do I look too hot? Like, do I look a little too hot right now? Because I want to, like, make it less hot. And people were like, you're good. Like, you don't look too hot. And me and Anna are like, wait, but I'm worried that, like, because at one point, Anna, I was like, you do look too hot right now. And everyone else was like, it's all right. Like, she doesn't need to.
Same with you.
Change her. We would do it with each other all the time.
The season finale school dance of first season, when I saw you, you were like, do I look okay? And I was like, yeah. And you were like, what? And I was like, no, you just look really pretty. And everybody was like, she's good. Like,
yeah, she's good. Like, because Anna was like, I think we should like maybe change her bang, like maybe put all the bangs out this time or something. And they were like, no, she's good. Like,
she's busted enough.
Yeah, she's busted. We're good.
That's too funny. It really is fascinating because it's like you guys are playing self-conscious, but what you're saying is you're not self-conscious as actors, which is really good because it sounds like self-consciousness gets in the way of a good performance if you're thinking about yourself. And
I mean, that's very forgiving. Like, I think I'm still a little self-conscious. Like, I'll have moments of that, but it informs the self-consciousness maybe of the 13-year-old version of ourselves. But in terms of like, there's no self-consciousness about trying to appear pretty. Like, there's no ideal that I'm trying to match, which is that is very freeing.
Is that pressure?
It's kind of like the easel. It's like so heady here, but it's kind of like going in with a blank canvas to every scene, that's putting a bunch of makeup on our face or whatever to be a cuter version of what honestly 13 would be. And that's how I would want to approach all characters, is like genuinely, what is the makeup that this person that, let's say an old, part that I did was like a forensic scientist, and I was in mini skirts and full faces of makeup and tons of fake hair because it was Fox and that's what you did. And to me, and that is so common. So common. Because women are in this box of what we're supposed to look like. And it kills my creative speed. Like, I want to, when I'm on, mine are both a little methody, to be totally honest. So it's probably partly that. But like, when I go on set, I want to feel like I'm just this person wearing what I would wear. And if my body isn't perfect enough or whatever, quote unquote, like, that's because you hired me and this is the character and I'm not going to change that.
If I was casting you as a forensics investigator, like, I would have you like have frizzy hair, like it would just, and like put brows on you that were just a little bushier, like glasses maybe, or just down straight with your hair, not it's so wild. Like, it's so funny how these shows can just want you to look
sexified and like fetishized and not worth watching unless someone wants to jerk off. And it's just like, sucks, it just sucks.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
True.
Is it therapeutic? I mean, is it therapeutic playing these characters in a healthy way?
Yes, I would say there have been many cathartic moments. It's also not just playing these characters, but the whole process of making this show. Anna and I talk about it a lot. It's like having a mirror up to you, like it's very, it's felt very meta, and it's felt like I've grown up while making this show. Like, I felt like I was going through another adolescence, almost like late 20s into 30s, a big transitional period in my life. And same with being 13, it was a big transitional period in my life. So a lot of growing pains and learning more about myself, it just feels like Anna and I say this all the time, I feel really lucky because we didn't get to actually be 13 together, but we kind of are going through this adolescence together, and we've like grown from our 20s to now having kids together. It's just wild. Like, we've had sort of another adolescence, but it feels like therapy for sure. And it feels like it whatever's going on in our life seems to inform the show, and the show then informs our life.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So true. I feel so lucky too.
Same.
That's great. I have to let you both go so soon. Thank you so much. This is so wonderful. We ask these silly questions of everyone. And I think it could kind of shed some light on your guys' process of inspiration. Is there something you've seen recently, or do you have a go-to favorite screen performance or like screen work of art that has really inspired you?
Ooh.
When I was a kid, well, many things, but one thing that I held on to, I saw Splendor in the Grass, and Natalie Wood was always like my beacon of, I watched her first in West Side Story, and now watching it, I'm like, oh, wow, like I'm seeing the issue with having this white woman play Puerto Rican. But when I was when I was that age, I was also in West Side Story, couldn't sing a damn note, but for some reason I was cast as Maria. And so I watched
She's a very
West
good
Side Story.
You played
I'm
Maria?
not.
Oh my gosh.
At 10, and I would cry. I was like, it was really, not great. But I copied, that was sort of my first time learning how to act, as I mimicked Natalie Wood. Like,
cool.
Intonation, everything she did. I was I don't know, something. I did her accent, everything, and I was obsessed with her. And then I learned later that wasn't really what acting was, but that was how I jumped into it.
Wow.
Cool.
That's amazing. This is really weird, but there was a documentary called Grizzly Man by Werner Herzog, and the guy in it is obsessed with bears, like obsessed, lives in the wild. His hair is wild. He's such a character. I love him so much. And it's absolutely, I don't laugh.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely a comedy, and there's lots of trauma as well.
Wow.
Which is my favorite.
There's
Union.
some DNA for Pen 15 in there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
That
Definitely
is
watch it.
so
That's
funny.
great.
I'm not cutting any of that out, by the way.
No, you can't. I'm laughing because you were laughing, by the way. Like it's funny, but also, no, that's so
What's
great.
wrong with me?
Nothing's wrong with you.
I've never seen, I'm going to have to go watch it now, obviously.
You have to watch it.
I know, I need to too tonight.
He has like friend squirrels and foxes, and he's like eternally himself because he's alone in this place for like a year. And so he's just recording himself all the time. That's his friend bear, and that's his friend squirrel. And yeah.
Wow.
It's really good.
Amazing.
It's very sad, but it's very good.
That is a very good answer to that question. I have to let you both go, but we always ask, what is, one piece of advice you would give your younger self, which is a question that I think is especially apt for the two of you, considering you think about your younger selves a lot.
So true. I would say you're going to fail a lot. And I know you're not going to want to. You're really going to hate it in the moment. But every single one you're going to look back on and go like, that was really important. And if you kind of aren't afraid of the failure and really look at it and talk to it, it's going to propel you to something that you will enjoy even more than whatever your initial goal was. And that's not just true to career. That's true all over life. And I need to keep reminding myself of that all the time.
I need that.
Yeah.
I need that. That's great. Okay, I guess because this is something I'm learning right now, just in terms of, I think I care so much what people think that it can sometimes cause me to make decisions that aren't maybe in my best interest, or I think will please someone else. Or it's just it's something I've been doing since I was 13, like literally that age, here and there, not always, but I guess I would try to find some quiet. I mean, this is so hard because I don't have the answer to not care, but like, what is something that gives you, joy and maybe space and time to really think about what it is you want and just ask for it and do it and don't apologize. Maybe that's what I would say, but I don't know how I don't even know how to achieve that really.
Well, exactly.
You do that though all the time.
I do that. I do. I love that you see that, but
yeah. No, it's what everyone needs to work on. Do I?
Yeah, it's just
it is. It's something. These are things to relearn. Like you can't just. It's not the kind of advice that you hear it and you take it and you learn it and you've mastered it. It's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget and remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Maya, Anna, thank you both so much. This was so fun.
Thank you.
So fun.
And now it's time to hear from Christine McKenna-Tirella, our Backstage casting insider. I will let her take it away.
Hi guys, Christine McKenna-Tirella here. This week, I'm diving into our inbox and answering a question that I get a lot about actors that are pivoting into new careers. Just keep in mind that you can send us questions to editorial@backstage.com, and in the title, just say podcast question. We will definitely get to them and consider making it a topic for this segment. And this week, I'm going to tackle how to get into casting. A lot of actors are pivoting. Lots of people are interested in considering it as a career. And so I'm going to give you a few pointers to get you started. So you are your own database, right? People hire you as a casting director because of your level of knowledge on the business. They expect you to know what actors are doing, what type of talent is available for their budget, who is up and coming and just graduating from school, who's just finished a show, that type of level of detail. So knowing the talent pool will get you hired, but your overall taste level and whether it matches with the creative team you're working with is what you will get hired for again and again. So research is more accessible than ever. Of course, there's the trade papers like Hollywood Reporter, Backstage, Deadline, Variety, but you can also research casts on IMDb and Playbill. You can look up live performances that happened on YouTube. You can stream any show literally from your phone. So you can start this database project today. When people envision casting, I always think they see the scene from Flashdance or a chorus line, but that's only 20% of what it is, right? Actually being in the audition room and working with actors. 80% of it is administrative. So you should love detail. You should really be detail oriented and love looking up spreadsheets. Meeting with the creative team and extracting exactly what they need, creating copy for breakdown, organizing auditions that works for everyone's schedules. A lot of emails fly back and forward and keeping on top of all of those, releasing the breakdown with sensitive, smart wording, finding the talent that don't get submitted on the project so that you have the best people that are coming into the room, and of course, scheduling the auditions and callbacks. That's just some of the tasks that casting does. And there's a further responsibility in this. So being in casting makes you a gatekeeper of a type. Essentially, you are selecting who gets considered for what projects. So empathy and kindness are essential. They're vital in this job. And more importantly, you have to do all you can to be inclusive in the casting process and confront unconscious bias and make sure that you're doing your best to represent people that are not in the space. A quote that I love when it comes to this is from August Wilson: "Confront the dark parts of yourself and work to banish them with illumination and forgiveness. Your willingness to wrestle with your demons will cause your angels to sing." Finally, there's no school for this, so you have to intern or assist and work your way up the ladder. That's what I did. So look out for opportunities in casting internships with offices, casting offices you're interested in working with. You can also sign up for Casting Society of America job alerts, or if you're in the UK, there's the Casting Director Guild. In the next few months, we are going to be talking about casting again. We might be interviewing some casting directors. So stay tuned. You'll definitely hear more about how to get started in casting on this podcast. On to the casting calls for this week. There is a major global brand casting a commercial for real people with financial goals, real stories about hardships and successes of paying off debt. It pays really well. Check out the casting if you're in the LA area. Another great post is from our friends at Bamboo. They're a creative company. We use them a lot for internal casting projects at Backstage. They are looking for a parent and a child for an ad depicting the creative and educational value level of a magazine called Highlights. They're looking for Seattle, Washington locals. So take a look at that project. And finally, we've got a voiceover for an uplifting online video for youthful, powerful POC female voices, talent for online videos for a new multi-sensory line of products from a confidential client. It's been vetted. It's a really cool job. I can't really tell you anymore, but take a look at the opportunity. That's a nationwide casting. All details are on the site. And of course, there are hundreds of castings for every type of actor in every region on Backstage.com. So head over there to check our castings out. That's all from me for now. Break a leg in all your upcoming auditions and have a beautiful week.
In the Envelope is recorded at Lotus Productions and Hyperbolic Audio in New York City, and Soundbox LA, Mark Grouse Studios, and Buzzies in Los Angeles. Thanks as always to our producer extraordinaire, Jamie Muffett, and to the team at Backstage, Samantha Sherlock, Mark Stinson, Caitlin Watkins, and of course, Casey Howe. Visit Backstage.com, and don't forget, you can subscribe to Backstage by using the code ENVELOPE at checkout for a free trial. That's right, 100% free. For more exclusive content, join us on Facebook and Twitter at In The Envelope, and subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Who would you like us to interview next? Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another glimpse in the envelope.